Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. 200 million XRP, JP Morgan, and a digital US dollar. ETH is a broken experiment. You're going to want every bit of that. BlackRock in the news. Binance, US Congress. What will it take to act on this digital asset space and get clarity? I think it may put ice water in your veins. We got the answer for you. Gary Gensler comes out, guns a-blazing. He has stepped up, and you are not going to like it. Gary Gensler calls XRP a currency. You don't believe it? You're going to hear it for yourself. SEC recognizes utility tokens are not securities and not commodities. So what's the problem, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we're going to show you today. Support and resistance for XRP plus price targets. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook at the top of the screen for exclusive content. Right now, the crypto market is at $1.099 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday. It's August 5th, 2022. Bitcoin right now at 23,300 plus. Ethereum just over $1,700. XRP at the number 6 spot at 37 cents this morning. Look at the range of price very quickly here. 36 cents on the bottom, 38 on the top. We're up 2.27% right now. Ladies and gentlemen, with all the craziness going on in this space, and certainly in the computer world, can you afford not to have as many layers of protection to help hide your identity and protect your anonymity online? Here it is right here. It's Pure VPN. Link underneath the video. 82% off for 27 months. And it's $1.99. Can you afford not to have it? I know I can't, and that's why I do. Or 5 years worth of protection for $1.49. Come on in. Link underneath the video. Don't mess around. Take a look at this. 200 million XRP transferred to an unknown wallet from BitHum, I think it was. Yeah, BitHum. So where's it going? Nobody knows. Again, I asked a question very quickly here. Jed McCaleb's 9 billion XRP taco stand wallet, sold out, done, over, gone. Since 2019 Q4, Ripple has not been selling XRP to retail exchanges that are not on-demand liquidity participating partners. Period. Full stop. End of story. Where is retail going to continue to get XRP from? I ask you. It's a reasonable question, right? And I don't think it's something we find out in a day, because I don't think anybody's been able to tell us so far. So we'll continue to watch it as things develop. But take a look at this. JP Morgan is using Ethereum to launch a digital US dollar. Very quickly here, I want to show you this because you all know what's going on with JP Morgan behind Ethereum. We all know the deal. Well, you're going to hear in a second just how bad it really is, because somebody breaks it down. It's Corey Clipston, I think it is. Oh, he destroys Ethereum. Now, we'll get into that in a second. But as you know, the US dollar and plans to extend their digital coin and other major currencies. The JPM coin was built on Quorum, an enterprise iteration of Ethereum blockchain. I remember Brad Garlinghouse saying, what do you need a JPM coin for when you have a dollar? You have USD coin. Yeah, shout out to Brad Garlinghouse. JPM coin is no doubt a high watermark, they say, for institutional blockchain adoption. Not only does it remind us of many enterprise Ethereum implementations like Signet, and they're already in production with 100 plus banks, but it clues us into competitive advantages for open source blockchain solutions over proprietary ledgers, and to the future industry networks and workflows of the fourth industrial revolution is nigh. Well, you know, all I can say to you is this, is that we will see how all of this shakes out. But I can tell you this, you know, we know Ethereum has some pretty high gas fees, so they better solve that issue. I don't care what they're launching on it, a US digital dollar or not. But here, nobody is saying it any better right here than Corey Clipston. Now, he's a Bitcoin maxi, so we can't all be perfect, but shout out to Corey, because he absolutely tells the truth on Ethereum and what it is not. Take a listen, and certainly what it is. Check it out.
People always ask me whenever I'm talking about I'm just into Bitcoin, no other cryptocurrency. They always, the one thing I always hear is with amazement, they go, not even Ethereum? So since we're talking about things that I think have no value long term, what are your thoughts on Ethereum real quickly?
Well, it's funny that because that line is out there, that actually gives the lie to the whole thing. Ethereum actually is centrally controlled. Consensus basically runs it out of New York, and the insiders own a ton of it, and they created it and they sold it through an illegal unregistered security offering back in the day. And so they actually have like incredible talking points. Think about like the Republican machine or the Democratic machine getting their talking points, and then you hear the same talking heads say the same thing. So what they've tried to pull off in the last few years to say that there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoins, trying to claim that Ethereum is not an altcoin, but it obviously is, because it's already a broken experiment. Essentially, the token that they created to use in their world computer was like the meme a few years ago. Ether, I guess is we call it ETH or whatever. The incentives of using that, if the price goes up, it becomes more expensive to actually use the system. So as it grows, it becomes more unusable, which is why they're getting off of proof of work in the first place. Their consensus mechanism was similar to Bitcoin's historically, and now they're moving to proof of stake. The problem with moving to proof of stake is inherently centralizing. You're literally talking about giving the rewards to the people that own the most coins. And you're also talking about anytime you have proof of stake, by definition, you have governance. Bitcoin as a proof of work protocol does not need governance, does not have governance. Every single proof of stake system has governance, must have governance, must have people making decisions about how it runs. So it's, again, inherently centralizing over time. So it's not even about like where it is on a spectrum today, whether it's like super decentralized or super, decentralized. It's that the second derivative, the direction in which it's moving, is always going to be centralizing over time. So the only way that Ethereum actually exists in the long term is if it deliberately seeks to be co-opted by the existing system, by banks and by governments. And you can see them playing that out, right? They're super tight with World Economic Forum. They take investment from JP Morgan, from the Saudi government. They're really just trying to like get ingrained in the existing system as deeply as they possibly can.
And the point to that is that that's how we know that the case against Ripple was clearly weaponized in the early days so they could get that first mover advantage and try to get established, because I tell you, they understood, and I believe they understood that because they had inside knowledge of just how powerful the technology of Ripple and XRP and the XRP ledger actually is. And you can't know that the one to beat is Ripple and XRP in the ledger unless you had that inside knowledge. And I believe that's exactly how the case came about. But before we get out of here today, I think you're going to find out that that case may just be a blessing in disguise, because it may turn out to be that this weaponized case against SEC versus Ripple turns out to be the slingshot for momentum to get real clarity and be the leader in this space. Shout out to Corey Clipson for his thoughts on that, and God bless him with Bitcoin, because you don't need proof of work to run a blockchain. I hope it works out. Binance has partnered with MasterCard to launch a crypto prepaid card in Argentina. Well, we got more news. You remember this from yesterday. BlackRock partners with Coinbase to offer Bitcoin access to institutional investors despite market downturn. Now, this to me, and I said this, but I'm going to say it one more time, because look, this is massive news here. BlackRock has been in this space for a while. Now they're opening up the door for their biggest institutional clients. That's what they're doing. And that tells me that it's time to let them fill their bags, their clients to fill their bags, because this is down as it's getting. And that doesn't mean we won't see more downturn, but you're getting near a trough. You're getting near a bottom is what I'm getting out of this fundamental news right here. And they're allowing their high client list to come in and scoop it up. And now we may see more downturn in the market. There's no telling where we go here, but I think we still got to watch out for Exchange, or now Exchange is being sued, which you're about to find out about, because Gary Gensler's come out guns a-blazing today, ladies and gentlemen. And let's understand this. USD Tether is registered with FinCEN, but it is not regulated. And that is a very key difference. And I tell you, it won't be long before it will be. And what will the market look like after it is? And I ask you this, if you're in some small altcoin position where you only got in through, let's say, a Bitcoin or USD Tether, how you getting out of it if they collapse Tether? Yeah, think about that one. Yeah, but now let's look at this Coinbase BlackRock relationship, and remember this, because Anders says now with this partnership, I see Coinbase, Circle, USDC, and BlackRock all in bed together. I do too, Anders. I do too, and it's a great point. BlackRock has entered a strategic partnership with Circle to be its primary asset manager of USDC cash reserves, which I have said multiple times. for a very long time that I think USD coin is, in fact, the unofficial, official U.S. retail digital dollar. That's what I believe, and it won't be long. I believe we'll see that truly said by somebody in an official position. Coinbase and Circle announced the launch of USD coin, a digital dollar, and we see here, obviously, BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager with $10 trillion in assets under management. That's the kind of door that just got opened, ladies and gentlemen. But we got problems on the regulatory front. What is it going to take to get U.S. Congress to come out here and separate the kids in the back seat from fighting? The SEC, CFTC, this has really turned into two kids in the back seat. He's touching my face. He's touching my face. I mean, this has really got to be stopped. But it will put ice water in your veins to hear what it's going to take. Because it was introduced a new bill called the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act of 2022, which I like the sound of this thing. I haven't seen the whole thing. But Senators Debbie Stabenow of Michigan and John Boozman of Arkansas introduced the bill. And basically, the CFTC would be granted rights to regulate digital commodities. I like that. And we also know that they would be overseeing crypto exchanges and not the SEC. Now, I love that. That doesn't mean that all commodity or all digital assets would be commodities, because first of all, we know that they aren't. There's one thing that we understand, and whether you like Gary Gensler or not, he's right in the fact that a majority of assets out in this space are in fact digital asset securities. Now, I think we all understand there's a lot of companies and startups running really IPOs as ICOs and then not registering them. And that is not right. Okay, so let's understand that. But that doesn't mean that XRP is, and it certainly is not in my mind and most other people that realize what's going on with an IQ over 39. But at any rate, let's look at this, because Gary Gensler recently said in an interview with U.S. business news channel CNBC, BTC is the only cryptocurrency he's comfortable with labeling as a commodity. Well, I want to know this, Gary Gensler. How come you won't address, and the CFTC or anybody else in a position of authority there, won't address the idea and the understanding that digital or Homeland Security has revealed that they know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and it's 4 people. And why is that public disclosure not made to the people that hold it? I don't understand how this is able to, these agency chairs like Gary Gensler are able to go, whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is. Well, ask Department of Homeland Security, because they know who it is. And doesn't every investor have the right to understand who it is and what their intentions are with creating it? It just doesn't make any sense that they continue to manufacture this lie that it is decentralized, because it is not. Anyway, he goes on to say, some like Bitcoin, that's the only one I'm going to say. I'm not going to talk about any of these tokens. My predecessors and others have said they are a commodity. They go on to say in this thing, despite the tension, however, Loomis staffers think the DCCPA bill has less than 50% chance of being passed this year. Don't let this put ice water in your veins. Look at this. The only way either bill would pass this year is if a catastrophic black swan event, like a major U.S. exchange collapsing, could rally lawmakers, said Cynthia Loomis. I don't know about you, but this is what it's going to take for Congress to actually do their job. We need some catastrophic black swan event for a major U.S. exchange to collapse and all of you to lose your money before we get off our ass and actually do the job we're here to do. I don't know about you, but I mean, I really think she should write this down and then read it aloud, because it's just as embarrassing either way. I tell you this. This is Caroline Pham, who most people are crowning newest crypto mom on the scene here. Should be requirements for disclosures and suitably and investor education. I'm not going to play the clip because it is basic stuff that she's talking about, and she recognizes that, but she still says those basic things are missing and investor protection should be tailored. Well, I think the best way to do that is to have Congress actually get off their ass and do their job before we have a U.S. collapse of an exchange. But you know what? Gary Gensler is working hard to contribute to that fact, I believe, because right here we see It is much bigger than we thought. Breaking right here, a staffer from U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis's office says every U.S. exchange and the largest crypto exchange in the world, Binance, are in various stages of being investigated by the SEC. It's bigger than we thought. And here's John Deaton's response right here. He says, Brad, I hate to be that guy, but go back and look at my old tweets. I say the SEC will sue an exchange or more than one. The SEC is likely to pick 2 to 4 exchanges that each sell 5 to 10 of the same tokens the SEC claims are securities. It could be one complaint versus several defendants, he says. Oh, this is getting ugly, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you factor in that right there with a USD Tether getting their self called to carpet for running an unregulated United States digital dollar, which could be referred to as counterfeit money, ladies and gentlemen. Don't overlook that. But I played this yesterday, but I want to set this up because I got something else for you to see today. And I want you to hear this clip where Gary Gensler explains exactly that XRP is not a security, but in fact a bridge currency. And he explains how it works. Take a listen to this and then wait till I give you the next thing here.
To Philippine peso. That is called a bridge crypto or bridge currency. That's in fact what Ripple is trying to do with XRP. So Ripple is a company that started as a messaging, a payment messaging service to compete with SWIFT. And that messaging service, which we'll talk about more Thursday, has been adopted by many banks. More recently, in 2018, they rolled out a prototype of using a crypto token, XRP, as a bridge currency. I would say yes, it is possible. I think there's an issue also about volatility. So if you're moving fiat dollar to crypto, Bitcoin, XRP to fiat, if you have a lot of volatility, that means it's a less it could be costly. But if it's stable value, so you can lower the cost 2 ways: lowering the volatility of the crypto, or lower the time. And XRP believes they have a solution that can be down to seconds, and thus even if it's volatility, that in seconds it won't move as much. And the friction will be that you have to sell dollars to buy XRP, and then sell XRP to buy peso, or you can interpose any bridge currency. One of the most significant opportunities for stable value tokens that we'll talk about in a few classes is maybe as what we can call it as a bridge currency for cross-border.
And there you have it right there. He knows in 2018, XRP is a bridge currency. It is not a security, period. He explains exactly how it's supposed to work and talks about it really being beneficial to have a stable value, right? Well, that reminds me of stable coins, and you could wrap that in the utility tokens, right? Well, let's take a look at this because I've put together a new clip of collage material that you need to see. What you're going to first see is Paul Atkins, who is an ex-SEC commissioner, admitting that the SEC recognizes that utility tokens are not securities and not commodities. Brad Garlinghouse's lawyer, Matthew Solomon, poking fun and making an inside joke to an SEC lawyer, Steve Schultz, I believe, or Buckholz, Steve Buckholz, SEC attorney. And when something is a note talking about the Reeves test, when they're discussing BlockFi and about how that lending product became a security there. But in the Reeves test, it is another way to determine whether something is or is not a note. I believe I'm going to show you in this that one of the classifications in the family resemblance test of the Reeves test actually disqualifies XRP as a security and makes it a note, which would be money. Take a look at this clip.
What about utility tokens? There's some promise there, but even still, it seems to be there's an issue with mass adoption. But SEC Chair Clayton Clayton, he has expressed interest in finding a path forward for utility tokens.
Well, so I've been involved with the Chamber of Digital Commerce and what we call the Token Alliance. I'm the co-chairman of that with Jim Newsom. And so a couple of years ago, we came out with a white paper talking about utility tokens that, there is a legitimate space for something that's not a security and not a commodity.
How we test, there's other broad brushes with regard to this as well, as to when something is a note, called the Reeves test that Thurgood Marshall wrote.
Looks a lot like a securities offering, right? And so we're going to treat that as a securities offering. We're going to regulate that. And so that's kind of how we look at it through that lens. Now, there are other pieces of the definition of security, like what's a note.
But the Commission found that this lending product was a equity security, an investment contract, but also that it constituted a note under the Reeves test. And
This is Matthew Solomon, Brad Garlinghouse's attorney, just about a month and a half ago.
The Commission set that out in the settlement order. This is a way, I guess, of giving some kind of guidance through this settled order of how expansive the Commission believes the Reeves test is in relation to lending products, not just equity security, but also, in their view, a debt security.
Other broad brushes with regard to this as well, as to when something is a note, called the Reeves test that Thurgood Marshall wrote.
And so that's kind of how we look at it through that lens. Now, there are other pieces of the definition of security, like what's a note.
I wanted to move on to the new product offering that we released last swell. That's come a long way, and we've made a lot of additions to it. This is what we're calling line of credit.
Utility tokens. There's some promise there, but even still, it seems to be there's an issue with mass adoption. But SEC Chair Clayton, he has expressed interest in finding a path forward for utility tokens.
Well, so I've been involved with the Chamber of Digital Commerce and what we call the Token Alliance. I'm the co-chairman of that with Jim Newsom. And so a couple of years ago, we came out with a white paper talking about utility tokens that, there is a legitimate space for something that's not a security and not a commodity. And so I'm happy that the SEC recognized that.
There's going to follow suit. Because clearly there must be other inquiries going on of similar products, since, again, BlockFi is not the only one out there like this. So that's my perspective on it. I don't know if others have views, because I do think this is an effort. I don't know, Steve, if you can talk any more about it, probably not, but
Steve
to give some
from the
information
SEC.
to the marketplace. And those are my personal views about what the Commission's trying to do, but if you can elaborate on that for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can't elaborate in any way that you would enjoy, I don't think.
What an inside joke they have with one another, knowing that he is representing Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple in the SEC versus Ripple. And they're talking about the Reeves test.
The U.S. Supreme Court in Reeves versus Ernst & Young adopted the family resemblance test to determine whether a note is a security. Under the family resemblance test, one must start with the presumption that a note is a security.
Is there any greater presumption than suing Ripple
The U.S.
over
Supreme
XRP?
Court in Reeves versus Ernst & Young adopted the family resemblance test to determine whether a note is a security. Under the family resemblance test, one must start with the presumption that a note is a security, which presumption is rebutted if the note bears a resemblance to one of the enumerated categories on a judicially developed list of exceptions. The following is a list of notes that have been determined to fall outside the definition of a security. A note delivered in consumer financing. A note secured by a mortgage on a home. A short-term note secured by a lien on a small business or some of its assets. A note evidencing a character loan in a bank to a bank customer. A short-term note secured by an assignment of accounts receivable. A note which simply formalizes an open account debt incurred in the ordinary course of business. A note which simply formalizes an open account debt incurred in the ordinary course of business.
I wanted to move on to the new product offering that we released last swell. That's come a long way, and we've made a lot of additions to it. This is what we're calling line of credit. annualized is low, rates as low as 2% is pretty competitive and pretty compelling, I think, to any business. And then lastly, it's one central relationship. So you don't necessarily need to have a credit relationship with every partner or every corridor that you're moving into. You don't have to have credit relationships in different currencies. We're basically opening up a credit relationship in with anywhere that you use ODL or any.
And there you have it right there, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe this is where this case is stuck. You know, the interesting thing here is that, you know, as I look down this, every time I share this material, I always tag all the legal analysts in this, and I get nothing but crickets. I love them all, but I get nothing but crickets. You know, this is quite interesting because it matters a lot to Matthew Solomon, and it matters an awful lot to Steve Buchholz that they can't openly talk about the Reeves test in a way that Matthew Solomon would appreciate or like. Let's take a look right now at XRP. What's going on with support and resistance right now? Resistance targets are at 37, 38, and 40 cents. Support targets, should we fall back, are at 32, 33, and 37 cents. We'll keep an eye on that. And targets we'd like to see happen sometime this year or early next year could be $1.35, $3.85, $7.16, $17 plus, and $34. If we see that repeat fractal of what happened in 2017, 2018. And maybe, just maybe, clarity from the Reeves test and a ruling from the judge could take us to those levels. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.